talking to you. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. You. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you.
I'm talking to you.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of my weekly podcast, in which I will be talking about the subject of identity. We need to know who we are. If you don't know who you are, you can't be who you're supposed to be and therefore do what you're supposed to do. So my slogan, I would say, would be identity before purpose. We come out of our mother's womb, come into a world that we didn't ask to be in, and all our relationships has brought us, many of us, to a point where we have lost it. Personal identity is the beginning of our journey. There are two commands that all of humanity must obey, and they are the pinnacle of what we must attain to. The first is to love the Lord thy God with all your heart, your soul, and your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. The word says, the fool says in his heart, there is no God. So the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. When you love and fear Him, I don't mean afraid of Him, but realize that you exist and you're here because of a Creator who specifically designed you. It should humble you and cause you to want to know and to love Him. So love the Lord thy God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and your neighbor as yourself. At the beginning of 2022, I declared this year my year of self, knowing self. Why? Just because of that second command. Love your neighbor as yourself. And so I realized that if I don't know and love self, I cannot love my neighbor, which is the second command, like onto the first. They're all interconnected. Yes? If you can't love a creator you cannot see, and then hate a brother that you can see, they don't go together. Notice the command says, love your neighbor as yourself. It didn't say, love your wife, love your brother, your mother, your father, yes, your sister, your cousin, your auntie, your all those relationships that we come into the world and have and didn't ask for, but we know that family is our first community, and that's where we learn to love. Regardless, it's my brother, I have to love him kind of thing. It's my mom, oh, I forgive her because she's my mom. My mom scolds me, but I know she loves me. And we know that that can be really taken out of hand by parents. They don't even scold. They can damage you psychologically. Yes, back in Jamaica, I've heard some parents call their children animals. You dirty dog. You pig. You know, and pronounce over their lives, you're going to die in prison. Those are some of the things that, we can do. Then you also have those loving parents that really encourage their children and tell them good things about themselves. They'll even tell them how pretty they are. To them they are, but when they go out in the world and thinking they're pretty, according to the world, they're not. They're told they're ugly. And then they realize, oh my goodness, my mom really didn't tell me the truth. She just told me based on what she thought. Oh, that can damage people's identity. It needs to be based on something much more solid than what mummy said, what daddy said, what sister said. The question is, where did you get that from? Who told you that? You go out in the world, oh, I'm pretty, I'm gorgeous. You know, I'm the best thing since sliced bread. Where did you get that from? And the world starts to cut you down. It starts in maybe nursery, when you go to the nursery school or kindergarten, you know, thinking you're all that. And somebody says, you're actually not. You're not this color. You haven't got this type of hair. You don't have this color eyes. What am I saying that to say? That it needs to be based on the truth of God's word. What does the Creator say about you? Not what mommy said. So the question, what we hear, what we believe, what we have built our identity on, we must ask the question, who told you that? Where did you get it from? Because remember, it's the truth that will make you free. It will set you free. Only the truth. And the truth is what the Creator says about you. That is the beginning of your identity. So, as we continue this conversation about knowing self, knowing who we are, we have to be selfish and selfless at the same time. But the word self is there. You have to have self-esteem, self-confidence. It comes from knowing your identity and then walking into that role. But first, we have to answer the question of our personal identity. You know, the great master, Christ, the Messiah, he asked his followers, who do men say that I am? I'm sure he knew who he was. Of course he knew. But sometimes it's, what are people saying about you? And they were answering him. Some were saying, some say that you're Elijah the prophet, or maybe Jeremiah. Some even said John the Baptist raised from the dead. And it was Peter who answered, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. An identity. Christ knew that. I'm a Messiah, I'm a king, and I'm also the Son of the living God. The question is, who are you? Who are you? So, until our next podcast, be blessed.